You know, it's been a while actually since I've done a Batman Arkham style video, and we are getting back into the swing of things where we are going to be making Batman Arkham content, as well as other games. I've been getting into Assassin's Creed recently. Not too long ago, I actually made a video talking about Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. I finally did my first playthrough on that, and now I'm going through the rest of the franchise as well. Slowly but surely, we are making our way there. But today, we are not here to talk about Assassin's Creed. You guys are here for the Batman Arkham franchise. So, what I wanted to talk about today specifically was one amazing thing that each game did. Now, I've done this before, so what we're going to do is we're going to go outside the obvious picks, right? And for those of you who don't know, like the obvious pick for each and every game would be like Asylum's atmosphere. For City, I picked well-roundedness. Origins, boss fights, Knights, combat, and Shadow would be like the feel of being like Batman, I guess, being in that first-person point of view. Those are like the obvious picks for each of the games, but today, for each of the 5 games, I'm going to be going through another thing, I guess you could say, that each thing did really well, but it's not going to be the obvious picks. It's going to be outside of those obvious picks. So I got like a little list here of everything just to make sure that I stay on track, because the Black Flag video was a little bit all over the place. But if you guys enjoy this, make sure to leave a thumbs up, make sure to subscribe, and let's get right into this. Starting off with Batman Arkham Asylum. Now, this game, like I mentioned, is really well known for its atmosphere, right? It's a really claustrophobic map. It's not a very big map, especially considering how today's games are, where a lot of maps are huge, right? A lot of people think bigger is better. Well, in this case, smaller is better, right? The claustrophobic atmosphere, and it's a little bit creepy, almost a little bit horror game vibes, especially when you got like the scarecrow missions and stuff. But something else I think this game does really, really well, like outside of just setting the foundation for the rest of the games, because I think that's a bit of an obvious pick as well, I decided to go with the Batman and the Joker representation. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, like, as we know, this is the first game of the franchise. A lot of stuff could have went wrong, right? If this game did everything poorly, if it did a poor job representing what the Batman and the Joker truly are, or if it did a really bad job with the gameplay and everything, then the series wouldn't have gotten to where it's at. So it really had to do a good job of laying down a solid foundation, not just for gameplay, but for Batman and Joker's relationship. And what Batman and Joker essentially is, right? They're water and oil. They're opposites, but at the same time, they're kind of in the same category, right? Where Joker's on the opposite end of the spectrum from Batman in terms of what he does, right? He unalives people, he doesn't care, he causes chaos, where Batman's all about saving people, but they're also kind of the same in terms of they're both not exactly mentally the most sane people on the planet, right? Like, it's pretty obvious to say that Joker's not sane, right? I'm not like, breaking ground with that. I'm not breaking some news by saying that the Joker's not the most sane human being on the planet. But for Batman to say that, some people might scratch their heads like, well, no, he's trying to save people. How can you say he's not completely sane? Well, I don't think a normal human being is okay with putting his life in danger night after night, going out and having the cops essentially try to arrest you as well for being a vigilante, put yourself in danger on the streets, wear a mask, dress up as a bat at night, and go on the streets and beat up thugs. Like, no, you are not a normal human being. Now, of course, that doesn't make Batman like an insane person. It doesn't mean he belongs in an asylum, but it just means mentally there's something off about him, right? And of course we know why. It's because of the whole thing with his parents, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to do the crying about Batman's dead parents thing, because the games do that enough for me to where I don't even really need to bring that up. But for the Batman and Joker representation as well, I also think it's about a cat and mouse thing, right? It's like Joker loves the chase. He loves being chased by Batman. It's almost like when you pursue a girl, right? And some girls like it when you chase them. They like that. They enjoy the chase. They like playing hard to get. And Joker is the exact same way. He's kind of like that girl who's playing hard to get all the time. He really wants Batman to be chasing him. And without Batman, there really is no Joker. Like, if Batman were to somehow die during the events of Arkham Asylum, Joker wouldn't be the same. Just like how Batman wasn't the same after Joker died in Arkham City. I know, that's a spoiler. I'm a terrible human being. How dare I even spoil a game that's 15 years old? Yeah, do you feel old yet? Arkham City's 15 years old. Come on, Unc, pack it up. Time to go home. But yeah, this game represented what Batman and Joker is really about. It's literally the cat and mouse chase. Literally, Batman feels like he's about to catch the Joker just for the Joker to slip out of his fingertips. That's what this game did really well, and it set the foundation for the rest of the franchise. But we're going to move on to Batman Arkham City. So, one thing I was going to originally put for this was the boss fights, because it has 2 of the 3 best boss fights in my book, that being the Mr. Freeze and the Ra's al Ghul sections. But I did decide to go with something a little bit different, and I don't know if this is a controversial take or not, and I might even dismantle my own opinion here as I kind of talk about this, but I decided to go with the side missions. I thought the side missions in this game were the best of the franchise because you have like the Victor Freeze cold call killer side mission, right, where you have to go answer the phones around the city and to try to figure out where he's got the hostages, right? There are some like ones, you got like the political prisoners ones and stuff, but I like the Bane side mission. I think it's good because it doesn't drag on for a long time, right? You got the Hush side mission, you got the Deadshot side mission, which the boss battle wasn't great, but the side mission itself was good. I enjoy those crime scene investigation type ones, where Arkham Origins has that but better, but the rest of the side missions in Origins do kind of fall flat in comparison. So I do kind of enjoy Batman Arkham City side missions, because another thing this game did that a lot of games don't do today, and it's a little bit of a problem I have with side missions in other games, and Arkham Knight suffered from this as well, is I find that certain side missions just drag on for way too long in other games, where here in Arkham City, it doesn't drag on. It doesn't feel like it has to go on you don't have to play it for an hour just to beat it. You don't have to play it for 2 hours just to beat one side mission. Like, nobody wants to play a side mission that takes that long. The only one that takes a really long time to beat is the political prisoners, but you can kind of beat that throughout the course of the game, and there's not really a real objective with that. Even like the Riddler rooms in this game were probably the second best in the franchise. It depends on how you feel about Arkham Knights. A lot of people didn't like the Batmobile stuff with the Riddler, so if that's how you feel, then Arkham City would probably be the best Riddler side mission in the franchise. Now, I know it's a lot of trophies to collect, but it honestly doesn't take as long as you might think, especially considering, like, it's not very hard to collect the trophies in that game either. So I would have to say that Batman Arkham City was definitely the best for me in terms of side missions, mostly due to the fact that they just don't drag on for a long time. It's like it's a side mission. It's fulfilling its purpose. And they also have the Mad Hatter in this game as well, which I've never been the biggest fan of Mad Hatter, but if you do enjoy that kind of stuff, he's kind of, I don't know, for me, he kind of just falls a little bit flat, but if you enjoy that sort of thing, like, I mean, all the power to you. I guess that's just another good side mission in your books. But I'm going to move on here to Batman Arkham Origins. So before, I would have said for the obvious pick, boss fights, right? This game was literally built around the boss fights. But the thing is, like, Origins really didn't improve a lot in terms of gameplay over Batman Arkham City. In fact, it didn't really improve at all. The gameplay is pretty much the exact same, but like a little bit more buggy. But whatever, it's not the end of the world for me. But I would say that one amazing thing about Batman Arkham Origins, in my opinion, Origins has the best story. To me, it does, through and through. And because it's an origin story, there's so many different ways that WB could have went about this. And of course, it's a Batman and Joker game. Of course, hindsight's 2020. You could say it's obvious that Joker was going to be in this game. But at the time, we were told it was going to be Black Mask. There was not a peep of the Joker. There was nothing to suggest that Joker was going to be involved in this game in any sort of capacity. So to us, we were thinking, oh, we're going to get a Black Mask game. And at the time, people were mad it was a Joker game. But in hindsight, this is a really good story, a really good origin story to show us how the Batman and the Joker came to be for what we see in Batman Arkham Asylum, right? For what we see in Batman Arkham City. And it kind of created a really good story as to how these guys are so connected to each other, right? How they're so obsessed with one another, especially how Joker became so obsessed with Batman for jumping off a roof just to save his life, despite the Joker kind of, in a sense, doesn't really value his life. It's probably the best way. Like, he doesn't value his life, right? But I think it's because from the Joker's point of view, he's probably never felt loved or wanted. Not to make this so deep and philosophical, but I get a sense from the Joker, he was never really loved or shown any sort of affection or appreciation, which is why he kind of acts out almost in a way to, like, cope with the fact that he had a very rough upbringing and just makes everything a joke, like, hey, like, who cares, whatever, like, YOLO type of stuff. But this game didn't just establish the Batman and Joker's relationship, which in my opinion is the strongest foundation of this game, or one of the strongest foundations of this game. It also established Batman in his relationship with the GCPD, with Jim Gordon, coming to figure out that a lot of the cops are corrupt, which of course we already knew, but Batman wanted to clear out corruption, Gordon wants to clear out corruption, but Gordon wants to do everything by the book, right? So he doesn't want to work with Batman, which I understand from his point of view. Like, Batman just looks like this guy who's just trying to come in and just be some vigilante, and Gordon doesn't want to have that and the crook cops to deal with. So I kind of get it from Gordon's point of view, but at the same time, like, he needs Batman, bro. Let's be honest. He really does need Batman. Like, without Batman, Gotham would be completely screwed. But more importantly than that, on top of those two things in the story, Batman also learns that he needs allies, right? Throughout the course of the game, Batman's entire thing is doing everything by himself. He doesn't need allies. He's literally stated this in the game, saying, I don't need any allies. Well, Batman himself comes to learn later in the game when Alfred has a near-death experience that, or I guess he did technically die for a short amount of time, but Batman was able to resuscitate him, and in that he learned he needs allies. That's the only way he's going to be successful. If he tries to do everything on his own, at some point, he's going to get himself killed. He's going to get himself in a situation that he won't be able to get out of. And there was a really good growing, learning lesson for Batman. So I thought that's why I think the story is the best in the franchise. I think it's just very deep, and I think that there's a lot to it. There's a lot of layers to it. That I'm not saying the other games didn't have any sort of depth or any sort of layers, but Origins really did have a lot of layers. Despite a lot of the flaws, the bugginess, the glitches, having Joker turn out to be the main antagonist, a lot of stuff that a lot of people didn't like about the game off launch. Say whatever you want, but the story, in my opinion, is amazing. Like a 9 and 9.5 out of 10 type of game. But we're going to move on to Batman Arkham Knight. So obviously, I mentioned it earlier, the combat is the best thing in the Batman Arkham franchise, right? By far. Like, this is the best combat in the franchise. Easily. Hands down. But what else is really great about it? Because obviously that's the obvious answer. So I decided to go with the world design and the map size, because a lot of games, like I said before, they have a tendency nowadays of making a map bigger. They always assume bigger means better. I could not disagree with that more. Look at Batman Arkham Asylum, right? Very small map, but they made it work. Batman Arkham Knight is it's a good sized map. It's not too big to where it takes so long to get around it. No, like, you can get to the other side of the map in a minute or two. Whereas you play a game, like, I remember playing, like, GTA, and it takes several minutes to get across the entire map. And it's like, bro, I just want to, get to where I'm going in a short amount of time. And I know you might say, oh, TikTok attention span or whatever. No, but it's just, I'm trying to play the story. I'm getting some momentum going. I'm getting stuff done. I'm getting close to beating the game. I don't want to take 10 minutes to drive across Los Santos. And at least in Batman Arkham Knight, you don't have to worry about that so much, but it's also not so small. It's not like Batman Arkham Asylum to the point where you get across the entire map in about 30 seconds, and you run out of stuff to see pretty quickly. Where Batman Arkham Knight not only has a really good map size, but a really good world design within that map size. Now, you could say that's a 2-in-1 entry, and I'm not going to necessarily disagree, but the world design's also very good. That kind of ties into, like, graphics and stuff, which the graphics are so beautiful. Even almost 11 years later, the game still holds up very well, and that turns into an entire different discussion about the graphics in games, how much more can they really improve and stuff. But when you're talking about how the design of the world looks, like, the buildings themselves are beautiful, the character models, everything is done extremely well in this game in terms of the world design and the map view, in my opinion. Because, like I said, it just doesn't take too long to get around. I've said before that Batman Arkham City is the perfect size map. I think somewhere between City and Night is like the perfect size map for a game, because you don't want to take it too long to get around, because that's going to bore people, right? Like, you don't want to spend 30 to 40 hours on a game and have to spend 5 or 6 of those hours just traveling across the map. Like, no, you want to be able to spend a couple minutes, get across the map, and keep playing, because it's about momentum. You don't want to have to stop what you're doing constantly just to go all the way across the map. It's not exactly ideal. So I think that Arkham Knight did a really good job with the world design and the map size. But lastly, Batman Arkham Shadows. This is one that even I myself kind of sleep on sometimes, because, like, you're not going to go back and play Batman Arkham Shadows on a regular basis, right? Like, I haven't replayed it since my first playthrough of it, but what I will say is that I would say one amazing thing about Arkham Shadow is the combat. Because the thing is, when I was going into this game, I really didn't have very high expectations, because I felt like that this was going to be one of those games where it was going to almost be like a cash grab, where Camouflage was going to make this game, slap Batman Arkham onto the title and just say, here you are, here's a product, play it, don't care if you like it. Because that's what it feels like gaming is turning into nowadays. But I will say I was pleasantly surprised by just how good the combat was. And it's as good as a VR game is realistically going to get, especially when you're in the first person. You get the little indicators in your peripheral vision as to whether or not you have an enemy attacking. You can counter by swiping your arms around. You can punch, and it shows you exactly where to punch. The stealth in the game was also very good, and it's actually, I wouldn't say it's hard, but I would say there's a part of me that's a lot more hesitant in the stealth sections of the game because you're in the first person. It's a lot more creepy. It's a lot more scary in a way when you have those bullets flying at you in the first person because it feels so real. That's the whole point of the VR. But the combat in this game, it surpassed my expectations and was done beautifully. I don't really have any real complaints about it, to be honest. But guys, this is one amazing thing about each Arkham game outside of the obvious picks. Let me know what your guys' picks are down in the comments below. Let me know what you guys want to see next. The next thing I'll probably do is maybe another Black Flag video or something. Right now I'm doing Assassin's Creed Origins, actually, which you might wonder why I'm not playing the originals. I wanted to play something with really good gameplay. I was playing AC1 for a little bit, but the gameplay on that one was just really bad. So what I'm planning on doing is I'll probably finish up with Origins. I'll probably play the RPG games and then go back to the older stuff. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. If you guys enjoy, make sure to leave a thumbs up, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. Peace!